Hi, I'm Hallie. I know we just met, but I'm pregnant. It's not yours. It's actually somebody else's. So, I was having a conversation earlier about like how pregnant women who are single should be able to date. Obviously, like a huge change is coming about in their life, and as long as they have their priorities right and know that their child, or soon to be child, no, not soon to be, once it's in your belly, it kind of already is. So, um, you know, your child always comes first, always, always. But, still okay to, you know, date or whatever, as long as, just like I said, you have your priorities straight. So, I am one of those mothers. And it's just so weird because, like, how do you tell somebody, if you've met them online anyway, that you're pregnant? Like, it's easier to meet somebody in person because then they can already see, and they see that, you know, no rings on these fingers. And, I don't know, I was gonna, like, buy one that looked like a wedding ring and just say, oh, I'm married to my son because, I was like, I wasn't going to date. And it would just be something like, every time I would miss something being on my finger, I would just be like, nope, I have this beautiful ring, and every time I see it, it just reminds me of my gorgeous baby. So, yeah, I never did that though. I don't have money for a ring anyway. So, but my thing is, like, if I met somebody when I was, like, say, out at ShopRite, chances are, especially now that it's getting warmer out, I'm not as covered up, they're gonna see that I'm pregnant. I'm 9 months pregnant, come on now. But when it was a little cooler, I can wear a hoodie, and I don't mean cooler as in like a couple months ago when I was like 5 or 6 months pregnant. I mean cooler as in like a couple days ago when I was still wearing a hoodie. You can't really tell that I'm pregnant unless I like lean back or accentuate it with the hoodie on. But then again, the hoodie is so big and baggy, like who's gonna approach me looking like that anyway? I'm sorry, I had the hiccups. So that's my thing. It's like pregnant women. First off, you should never judge anybody by their situation, but most guys, they prove instantly they're not worth your time because they're like, oh man, she's pregnant, let me stay away from her. But what is the difference between a woman being pregnant versus her just having a baby who's 1 week old? So that was my thing. Like, I was like, oh, what if I meet like a really nice guy online and then I'm supposed to sit there and tell him I'm pregnant? Like, how weird is that? And like, I have, like, talked to a guy online, and he's like the nicest guy in the world. But it's like, it was just so awkward, like, when I had to tell him that I was pregnant. It's like, I don't know how to say this because I've never been in this situation before, and I hope I'm never ever in it again. But it's like, it really shouldn't be awkward. Like, people shouldn't judge. But I don't know. And then, like, I was thinking before I even like met anybody, I'm like, like, I should just say my son is very young. But then they're like, oh, well, how young is he? And I'm like, well, he couldn't be any younger. When, like, the truth is, like, he could be younger. I could be, like, 6 months pregnant. I have no idea. So I'm like, do I say, well, like, he's 36 weeks and 4 days? Because that's how long he's been on the planet? Or do I say, like, 36 weeks and 4 days and then put, like, really tiny in utero? Like, I don't know. And I think it's easier to date when you're not as far along because it's not as obvious, like, that you're pregnant. And not only that, but it's not like you your chances of missing a date because you're going into labor aren't as aren't as high. So, what are you doing in here, little girl? So, my thing is, sorry, my mom's cat just came in my room and she doesn't even like me. My thing is, like, if I wasn't as far along, I wouldn't be as big. It'd be easier to hide. Not that I wouldn't tell him that I was. I still would definitely tell him I want to be honest. And it would still be an awkward conversation. It shouldn't be, but it would be. For me anyway. Um, but it's like, I don't know. Like, and now that I am 36.5 weeks, like, if I were to meet somebody, like, it's different now because at this point I'm almost 100% effaced. I'm 75% effaced, more and more every time I get checked. And I'm only 1 centimeter, which doesn't really mean much of anything. It could change in a day. It could change in a couple weeks. It just depends. It could change in a couple hours, really. And he has dropped, so it really could be any day. And I don't know. It's just funny. I was talking to somebody, and they're like, "Oh yeah, what are you doing later next week? We could talk and get to know each other, and I could take you out for dinner." I'm sitting there thinking like, I don't even know if I'm gonna make it that far. And it's just funny because I'm like, I really don't know. And I don't know. I just feel like it's not fair to go through pregnancy being alone in the first place. And it sucks being alone in general. Me, personally, I don't mind being alone. But then you get to a point where, like, you're alone and you're like, okay, it's starting to get old. It'd be nice to have someone to, like, have around. And friends are awesome, but they're just not really filling the human that I'd like to have next to me, to experience life with, the ups and downs, the joys and the sorrows, and all that good stuff. So, I don't know. I'm sure I'm not the only pregnant person in the world who has tried to date. And I'm sure, like, even though I've made really great friends from guys who have been interested in me, I'm pretty sure that nothing is going to kick off between now and the end of my pregnancy. Um, Maybe once the baby comes, then I can just, it won't be as awkward for me because people date people with kids all the time. And obviously, I'm not going to be dating when he's only a couple weeks old. Like, he needs me. I'm not leaving my house. um, I mean, like, if he wants to come over and cook me food, that's one thing. No, I'm kidding. And I don't want people to meet my son right away. Like, the only people who are actually going to meet my son are people who I really feel like could be in my life for a long time. I feel like some of my friends, actually, I don't want to say that. I feel like some people introduce their kids to people way too soon, and it's not only about not completely knowing a person because you don't know what they could do to your kid, but it's also that I know this because I dated someone with a kid, and I don't think I met her for like a couple years. I think it was like almost 2 years, and then I finally met her. But I fell in love with her because she was just so beautiful, and she was a brat, but she was like a good brat. Like, I've seen really, really bad kids, but she was a really good girl, really good kid, does really well in school. But she had her times where she was a little spoiled, but she was just so beautiful, and I fell in love with her, and man, it just hurt. After that, I was like, I could never be with somebody who has a kid, ever. But now that I have a kid, and even actually a year ago, because I was like, I wasn't even sure if I could have kids. I was like, I'm like, I wouldn't mind dating someone with a kid, like, kind of get my fix for, wanting a kid out of the way. Like, I'd be there for him or her, whatever. Every child deserves to be loved and accepted. So I kind of like went back against that. It was just hard because I guess I was young at the time. I was only like 18 or 19, and I just saw her as my own, even though her mom was in her life. Um, I don't know, just really broke my heart. And to this day, like, I can't believe that she's so big and grown now, and I'm just really happy for her. But at the same time, it's like, there's that bond, and then, it's not only about the boyfriend who could get attached to the kid, it's also about the kid getting attached to the boyfriend, or the kid getting attached to the girlfriend if you're a man. And it's like, you don't want to bring people around your kids too soon. You want to make sure it really is something. Unless it starts off at a friendship level and you don't expect it to go to that, and then it becomes that one day. Like, if one of my friends, I always called him, oh, Uncle so and so, to my kid, and then one day it turned into something that could be something completely different because I've known that person for like ever. It's a completely different line of trust. So I don't know, and that's another reason why it's easier to date when you're pregnant, because your baby can go everywhere with you, and you don't have to worry about what that person's gonna do to your baby. I mean, like, in a sense, I guess you could, because they could always hurt you, but you would hope that that wouldn't happen. Excuse me. Um, so yeah, I mean, shoot me an inbox or comment on your questions about dating while pregnant. Whether positive or negative, it's fine. It's all good and dandy. And maybe if you've had experience dating while pregnant, or you're a man who has experienced dating a woman that was pregnant, feel free to leave me a message or a comment or a video response, anything that you'd like. I know I'm not the only person in the world that has been through this. I've already talked to quite a few women who are going through the same thing right now, some who are dating, and I've actually met people who have said that they know people who met the husband that they're married to now while they were pregnant. So it's not impossible. And I don't know. And they also said that if you find a guy who likes you and then he finds out you're pregnant and he still sticks around, at least you know that he's worth your time because he's not going to just get up and leave. And that is true. Like, obviously, if, you know, I don't know, it's a very difficult situation, but I think for a lot of guys it will be a deal breaker. But I think for a lot of guys, and to my advantage, I think that'll kind of help weed out the tools and the people who aren't really worth it. Like, they're not really in it for the long haul and, whatever. And obviously, if they can't handle someone with a kid, then they're not for me anyway, because now I'm going to have a precious little baby boy, little miracle, and he's going to be my world, and he's always going to come first. Always. Um, Baby always needs mommy first, and I will make sure that stays like that, no matter what. Yeah. Oh, I just can't wait to hold him. Sorry. So, yes. If you've had experience with any of this at all, any questions, concerns, even if you want to be like, what are you thinking dating while I'm pregnant? This is the time to bond with your son. That's fine. Go ahead and write that. I'll read it and I'll, you know, take it one word at a time and process it. So, yeah. Let me know your thoughts on this. Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.